This is the third in a series of basic training videos that we've created here. I'm going to build on the second video where we had run a search on probiotic skincare. And in this video, cover a slightly broader application and build a use case around it. So let's take this sample use case. Let's say you're trying to determine if probiotic skincare is a lucrative opportunity for your brand or for your organization. And more specifically, you're trying to understand what types of uses do the consumer currently apply, or do they think they're going to apply probiotic skincare for? And then, of course, once you identify these uses or these use cases for probiotic skincare from the perspective of the consumer, we then want to, of course, quantify these use cases and identify which of those opportunities might be most lucrative for us, both in terms of future market potential and in terms of short midterm market potential and market maturity. And then, of course, we'll also run a comparison to look at the sociodemographics as well as the motivations and attitudes that might be driving those use cases. So the starting point for us always is with the relationships. Relationships that are a great place to really understand the mental model that the consumer applies to any topic, because in essence, the relationships are the top 100 meanings or associations that the consumer is attaching to the search term. In this particular case, all I have to do is quite simply spend some time scrolling through these relationships to identify existing use cases from the consumer's perspective around probiotic skincare. For example, the first one I already see here is acne. If I keep going down this list, I see another one, eczema. I continue down this list here. Let's see, allergies, possibly. Oh, spot treatment, that's another good one. So why don't we start there? So as you can see, I've barely scrolled through the first half of the relationships and I've already identified 3 potential use cases from the perspective of the consumer. For the sake of expediency here, what I've done is I've taken these use cases and built searches for you. And I just want to show you what I've done. And then we'll run some comparisons and actually size up these market opportunities. So all I've done here is basically added these use cases or these topics to the original contextual topic of probiotics, because obviously probiotics is really the trend we're examining here. So I've added spot treatment in one case, I've added bad eczema in the other case, and then the third case I've just added acne. And I've run each of these searches, and I'm going to hit compare here to examine how different the markets might be for each of these applications of probiotic skincare. Straight away, it makes us eliminate bad eczema. It seems to be the smallest, both in terms of maturity and in terms of the future market potential, addressable market, just 20 million. However, there certainly seem to be lucrative opportunities both on the spot treatment and the acne side, and certainly one could do a deeper examination of both because they could be related to one another, of course. But these two seem to be really the opportunity areas. But the other thing I also notice is that acne is not only more mature on the adoption curve, but its future market potential is also not that much larger than the current core engaged portion of the market. So, core market, 57 million, addressable market, just 68.5 million. Compare that to spot treatment. It's in the early majority, just about to enter the late majority. So kind of at the right time for sort of a short to midterm strategy. And then in terms of future market potential, we can almost double the size in terms of the engaged market size. So just based on evaluating some of these factors, one might say that, if we are launching or considering a launch or considering a strategy for marketing, let's say on the probiotics skincare side, we might want to consider a focus on spot treatments. So let's say, for argument's sake, that's what we end up selecting. Then what we can do is actually examine the differences in the sociodemographics and determine which and if there is a fit between the sociodemographics of our existing customer base and the customer base that engages around probiotics for spot treatment around skincare. So straight away, you'll notice here, if you compare acne and spot treatment, for example, spot treatment skews a little bit more towards the middle and lower income groups, also seems to skew a little bit higher towards those couples with children, and lower on the single population, compared to acne and bad eczema. And then, of course, you also notice that there's some interesting differences in the motivations that drive these. Acne seems to be more about self-image, while spot treatment more about morality and being a good person, a responsible person, making good decisions that do not negatively impact their family, their community, animals, the environment. So you can straight away see that if you're launching something around probiotic skincare here, you might need to consider issues like animal testing, issues like potentially, recycled or recyclable packaging, things like that, as good sort of alibis for this consumer to leverage, and obviously for them to consider your brand or your solution as part of their consideration set. And then, of course, you can explore the fears that drive them, the values that drive them. This is also interesting because the fears around spot treatment acne are actually the same. So that might also tell you that, acne can kind of be a secondary focus for the brand, and the primary focus can be more around spot treatments, or vice versa, even depending on where there might be a match with your existing product portfolio and strategies and so on. So I'll stop here. Hopefully in these few minutes, you've gotten a sense of how you can actually use the technology for all kinds of purposes, including driving business strategy, product strategy, as well as, of course, marketing and communication strategy.